Hi there. Welcome to the Own Your Expertise interview series. I'm Emily Crookston, owner and decider of all things at the Pocket PhD. I'm the ghostwriter for Rebels, Renegades, and Mavericks, and I love helping experts with big ideas get those ideas out of their heads and into their world. Today, I'm sitting down with Bianca Lynch, the lead consultant and creative director at Bianca Lynch, LLC. She's a social media strategist and consultant, and she's all about teaching brands how to show up differently online. Bianca, thank you so much for speaking with me. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about who you work with and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely, Emily. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here. Emily and I have known each other for years, and I think that's one of the coolest thing about being in the sort of like entrepreneurship world is you just meet all these really amazing people, and then years down the line, you're still connected. So really excited to be here. As Emily said, yes, I'm Bianca Lynch of BiancaLynch.com, social media strategist, consultant, and speaker. And my biggest thing is helping people grow their impact, influence, and income with social media. So I work with small and big businesses. A lot of my background is actually in corporate and technology, but I love working with small business owners, solopreneurs, especially people who are service providers. And essentially, I'm all about helping you guys come up with a strategy that makes sense for your specific brand to help you reach those social media goals, whatever those goals are for you, whether that is just getting yourself out there, just brand awareness, whether you're trying to build that influence, if you're trying to grow a personal brand, or if you're trying to get some leads, sell some products, whatever it is across the board. If it relates to social media, I'm your girl.
Love it. Yeah. And you bring up a really good point, right? Knowing your goals is really important. And if you're going to engage a strategist, a consultant like Bianca, you want to know, like, what am I doing on social media? What's the point of all of this? And if you don't know that, right, it's like that quote about, if you aim at nothing, you're going to hit it or whatever it is, right? So you've got to know that goal. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Yeah. So tell us, what's your die in a ditch belief? So for the audience, I talk about a die in a ditch belief a lot. It could be a little bit controversial, a little bit disruptive. It's probably a belief about your industry, or it might just be a belief about life, but it's something that you would be willing to defend if you were pressed. And I really liked Bianca's answer to this question on the questionnaire. So what's your die in a ditch belief?
Yes. So my die in a ditch belief whenever it comes to social media is that way too many businesses focus on ROI and not ROE. And when I'm saying ROI, of course, that's going to be like return on your investment financially, but not a lot of people are focusing on the return on experience. So that's kind of like a fancy way of saying, we all have a habit of getting on social media and wanting to get those really fast results. So we live in this world of instant gratification. And now with social media, let's be honest, there's a ton of comparing out there. So it's so easy to look at someone else and you see them with a ton of followers or a ton of engagement, or you see them selling and doing all these things. And you feel like, oh, I'm going to get on here and post about my products and all these people are going to buy from me. And that's not how it works. Because people are going to buy from people they know, like, and trust, which you guys have probably heard before. And it's something that at this point probably sounds cliche and overdone, but it is still so true. And it's even more true today than it ever was, because consumers, including ourselves, we're more sophisticated than we've ever been. And we are so sick of being sold to all the time. So like a lot of people just kind of like jump into it, not really looking for the long-term game, and they just want to start getting those results immediately. But if you want consistent results with social media, you got to put in the work.
Okay. Yeah. Super important. Yeah. I remember. So when I was brand new in my business, I posted, it was like my first article on LinkedIn or something, and it got thousands of views. And I didn't know anything. I was really green. Like I said, I was brand new in my business, maybe a month in or something. And people were like, wow, how did you do that? And it's so funny because I have no idea. I still don't know. And it's not as if I've replicated that since, and so it's really easy. I can see, like, you do something, you put a video out and it goes viral and you're like, oh, this is amazing. I could see how you could easily spend like the next 5 years chasing down that viral hit, right? But you're right that really what it is, if you want to be consistent over the long term, and it's work, and it's consistency, and it's staying there, right?
Yeah,
So
100%.
Yeah, so if I were to ask you, like, what metrics to be watching on social, what would you say?
So I would say the first thing is it always goes back to your specific goals, as in like, what are you
Okay.
looking for from social media?
Right.
Things that I always like to look at are, like things where people are engaging. So likes on most platforms are, well, likes across all platforms are sort of like those vanity metrics. Like they
Yeah.
look great.
Yeah.
And some platforms they mean more than others, but I mean, always comments, like things like
Okay.
comments, if people are reaching out to you, like direct message, those are really, really good indicators. And then also like your website traffic, if that's something that you are looking for. I know a lot of people I work with, they want to drive people back to their website. So I like to also like pull in like Google Analytics and see if people are actually taking that next step. Like those are the metrics I think that are going to tell you more about how effective your marketing is. Like, are people saving, sharing, commenting versus just like likes and impressions? Like those things are great. And I'm not saying they're not important, but they don't necessarily tell you if you're posting that really like those really impactful types of content that's going to make your audience take an action.
Right. That's really good. Yeah, because again, it goes back to the know, like, and trust factor. So think about what indicators would tell you that people know, like, and trust you. And it's going to be they're commenting on your stuff. They're taking 10 seconds out of their day to say, this is a great point, right? That's all important. Or they're sending you a DM. That's, super.
Versus that 1 second that it takes to either hit that like button or double
tap. Exactly. As you're scrolling. Dink, 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 dink. Yeah, I do that all the time. So what would you say has helped you the most in learning to own your expertise as a social media expert?
Definitely failing is what has helped me. So failing, like experimenting, trial and error, however you want to call it, but just honestly doing the work is what has helped me the most. So since I work with multiple platforms, every platform is a little bit different. Also, if you guys have been using social media, you can see the platforms change all the time. So just like everyone else, I'm constantly having to try new things, and I'm constantly having to, taking the next step in that and looking at the data. So like similar to what you were saying a second ago, Emily, and it's kind of funny because you're talking about how whatever you post and like you're like, oh, this post did amazing, and then you try to replicate that, and it's not always like just like a cookie cutter method. And even me, like I'm a social media strategist. I've been doing social media for more than 6 years now. And even now, like I will post something and I'm like, oh, this is going to do so well. My audience is going to eat this up. But it's like cricket. And then I just like repost something just like, oh, I kind of like that. And then all of a sudden it's like comments and people are DMing and everyone's saving it. And I'm like, honestly, that's going to be the biggest thing is you really got to put yourself out there. But like if you're providing value and like it's really like spot on for your target audience, like that is what they care about. So like you really just got to get out of your head. You got to push that perfectionism to the side, and you got to just get it done. Stop spending so much time thinking, oh, what should I post? What should I post? Like what is happening in your life? What are you doing? What problem are you solving for people? Because then if you know your target audience, if you know the problems they're trying to solve, if you have the solution to help them, you never not have content ever. That's it. You never not have content.
Show up and figure out where you can be consistent and make it work for you and just stick with it.
Yes, I love that you say figure out where you could be consistent, because that is for the last few years, people who have been like, where should I be on social media? I'm like, wherever you could be consistent. I'm like, if you already love Instagram, go with Instagram. I love that you brought that up. Consistency is definitely something that is so underestimated, undervalued. And like you said, a lot of people, I'm like, you're not getting the results because you quit.
You gave up too soon, right? Yeah. And I think consistency means like giving it a shot is at least 3 months.
At least. Absolutely.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me. I've enjoyed this conversation so much. I've learned a bunch. I always learn a lot when I chat with you, so I appreciate it. So tell us where we can find you online.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me at biancalynch.com. That's kind of like the home website. And of course, you can connect with me on social media. LinkedIn is where I'm spending most of my time these days. And it's literally LinkedIn/n/Bianca Lynch. Very straight and to the point. Definitely connect with me. Emily, thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. I'm glad that we got to catch up.